within 12 months to saying, well, maybe that's not quite right, and maybe I need a different edge so that I can actually win and set myself apart, then maybe look at why operating properly actually gives you that unfair advantage over all of the rest of the noise in the property sourcing sector. So when you're on social media, you'll see an awful lot of advertisements, of pictures, of videos, images of people who are claiming success sitting on beaches, standing next to high value vehicles, showing you Rolex watches, all sorts of different things, and claiming that they are very, very successful and they've achieved it incredibly quickly. Well, the one thing that I can tell you is that those that take shortcuts might win in the short term, but in the long term, it doesn't work. Why? Because eventually, as sourcing agents and deal packagers, one of a few things will happen. HMRC will come along and inspect you, and you won't have a clue how to answer their questions or provide the evidence that they want. An investor will make a complaint about you, and it will go to redress or it will go to court, and you might well lose. Or you will just lose the professional stance that some investors believe you had. And trust me when I say that investors talk to each other, and you won't get any more work in. So you may win in the short term, but if your goal is a long-term, sustainable, professional, and ethical business, I strongly suggest that you do it properly right from the go-get. So, cutting corners is great to begin with. And setting up really quickly and getting some money in the bank may give you a buzz, and you'll start doing these videos and saying, I'm a huge success. But think about the longer term. Think about the people that you're working with, the investors. What service are they receiving? Do you care about what service they're receiving? Because if you don't, eventually it will come back and get you. So I always say that doing things properly creates a moat around you, a safety moat. And that safety moat is not just about compliance, although compliance is really important. It's about that professionalism and that word transparency. It's very, very hard to fake if someone does due diligence. And a lot of the issues in the sector with investors losing cash is they don't do due diligence. Some experienced investors believe that they don't need to because they know what they're doing, and they believe that as long as the deal stacks, then that's absolutely fine. Well, it is until they find out that it doesn't, and they forked out tens of thousands of pounds, and then they can't get it back. And then all of a sudden, compliance becomes really important to them. So you need to be verified. You need to be verifiable. You need to be able to prove that you've got your insurance in place, that it's fit for purpose, that you're registered with one of the 2 government approved redress schemes, that you're registered with the Information Commissioner's Office for data privacy supervision, and of course HMRC for anti-money laundering supervision. But there is more to it than that. How do you check a sourcer to ensure that they actually know the location that they say they're sourcing in? Have they ever visited the place? What do they know about the strategy? What do they know about the local rules around those strategies in that area where the property is based? If you're working with someone that lives in London and they're sourcing for you in Liverpool, but they've never visited, how well do you know it? How well do you as an investor understand what you're looking at and whether it is a good deal or whether there's a lot more to it? So as investors, you can go off and manually do these checks. You can ask to see a copy of their insurance. You can go to the redress sites, the ICO site and the HMRC site, and you can search. Probably take you about half an hour, maybe longer, even if you know where you're looking. Or you can go to the NAPSA site, search for the company name or search for a company that's in your geographical location, sourcing for deal types that you want. And within a minute, you'll have a list of those that NAPSA has already pre-checked for you, and NAPSA is monitoring. So that's one alternative for you as an investor. Instead of doing it all yourself, let NAPSA pull that heavyweight section for you and search and use a NAPSA approved accredited sourcing agent. It's really essential to start off doing it properly. Even if you haven't done it right from the very start, you can still start now from where you are and say, well, I may not have done it right up to now, but I'm going to have a rethink about this and I'm going to restructure how I operate, and I'm going to start from now. And what that means is, and what worked for us in our sourcing business for over 13 years, is when you work decently with investors, when you provide them with what they're looking for and it works, and you build up that know, like, trust, you build up that trusted relationship with them, you're not just trying to sell a deal to a different investor every time and being messed about and being told that they have cash and then they don't, and then you lose the deal because the seller gets fed up. Or worse still, you're working with an estate agent and you ruin that relationship as well. Acting properly, professionally, and ethically means that you have a referability gene in your business, which means that investors will refer you to other investors because they found that you work in the right way, long term, not just short termism. And so you end up not having to advertise for investors. You end up not having to say, I'm really struggling to find those investors. How do I find decent, reliable investors? You find them because they refer you to each other. When we were running our sourcing business, and we ran it for over 13 years, apart from the initial work that we did to find the initial 2 or 3 investors that we started working with, we never had to advertise again. Why? Because we operated properly. We didn't have that short-term look about our business. It was set up professionally. We provided a huge, huge service for them that benefited them, and we gave our time when they couldn't for them to be able to do that. So play the long-term game. Have the long-term mindset, not the short-term. People will want to work with you long term. Investors don't come into this sector wanting just one property. They want to build a portfolio, or they want to expand the portfolio, or they're reducing the portfolio to change strategy. But either or way, this is happening, and it's happening now, today, out there. So what approach do you want for your business? Do you want that short term cutting costs, cutting professionalism, the video image of you standing next to, in the showroom, a high value car and saying, I've made it? Or do you want that long-term mindset, that long-term professional and ethical strategy of working long-term and building up a long-term business? At the end of the day, you can do what Tony and I did. You can use sourcing to build up a pot of cash to then go on and invest. But when you're looking for properties for yourself, you're sourcing. This builds up those muscles as to how you engage with estate agents. You're doing it initially for someone else, but then you'll be doing it for yourself. And you can't buy everything, even as an investor, when you have the cash. So you can still source and add that extra stream of income, even going forward, if that's what you want to do, just as we did. That's it for our mini compliance today. If you want to get in touch with NAPSA, you can phone us at the office on 01200 411 570, or you can get directly in touch with the team via email to hello@napsa.org.uk, or just simply go to our website, which is napsa.org.uk. Thank you for being with me live if you are, and thank you for listening on Catch Up. I hope you'll join us again next week, Tuesday, 10 a.m., exactly the same time, for another mini compliance over coffee. Bye for now.